name is Michelle Andrushak. I am now a certified management consultant and certified business coach, helping you build productive and profitable businesses. So thanks for joining me today. I wanted to share one of the most exciting tools that I have been experimenting with. Actually, it's a few tools that I've been using for a while, but then I learned the power of them as we combine them into a 15-minute daily routine to boost productivity for yourself and your business. So in my market research on how this tool was to be used, you know that I run business mastermind groups for women in business and leadership. So I sent this challenge out to some of my mastermind groups to test their level of productivity and to use this tool that I'm teaching you today. And the feedback that I got was when they used this tool on a consistent daily basis, they found that there was an increase in their daily productivity and better time management up to 60%. Now, who doesn't need 60% more time in their day to do the fun stuff rather than all the stuff that seems to be bogging your mind down and taking priority over the things that really need to, what I call the needle movers in your business and in your life, things that will make a significant impact. So these tools are really, really simple and really easy to use, very easy to implement, because who needs more hard stuff? And once we get over the fact that things need to be hard in order to have a massive positive impact and use simple tools with simple steps on a consistent basis, and that's the thing, implementing this tool consistently will have a massive impact on how you manage your time and your business. So with that said, let's learn how to boost productivity for yourself and your business. So this 15-minute morning routine will improve your focus, will help you identify your priorities for each and every day, improve your time management, propel you into what I call productive action. There is a very big difference between busyness and productivity. When people say, oh, you're so busy, that automatically puts stress into your body. And then you become what most of us do. We get a little surge of adrenaline. We get a little surge of our fight or flight chemicals in our bodies. And because we're not very good fighters anymore, we flight and we call it procrastination in 2019. So if you have an issue with procrastination, this is a tool that will help decrease that stress, because procrastination is not actually part of your DNA or who you are. Procrastination is a direct response to some kind of stressful event that you're having in your life, and you're trying to just to either fight or flight away from it. So with better focus, and this is a simple 15-minute routine that I will teach you, and no more than 15 minutes in your day to get back probably 3 or 4 hours. So with better focus, prioritization, time management, and productive action from you, and if you have employees, they can do this routine too. When they come sit at their desk, if they start their day with this 15-minute morning routine, they will be more productive for you. If you're more productive, if your employees are more productive, what does that do to your business? It gives you a better bottom line, and ultimately that's what we're here for. So with that said, does anyone resonate with this gentleman in the picture of having these constant thoughts, almost like a hamster on a wheel, running and running and running and running through your head? So it is the story that keeps repeating itself. It's a never-ending mental playlist where every single thought has equal priority in the storage area of your brain. And then all of a sudden, you get overwhelmed. The amount of stress is astronomical, and somehow you find yourself that you just can't think straight. And that affects your productivity and your behaviors, not only in your business, but in your life as well. So if anyone can resonate with this, well, you know, if you're on video right now, just raise a hand so I know you're picking up what I'm putting down. And that way you're not looking at, this is how you're walking around on a daily basis. No wonder you've got a headache. So with that said, let's go for the first 5 minutes of this first 5-minute routine. What I'd like you to do, if you have a piece of paper handy, is those thoughts that are on the hamster wheel in your brain. The first 5 minutes of this 15-minute routine is to just dump those thoughts. So as I'm speaking, if you want to do that, you know, I'm not up for multitasking, but if you want to grab a piece of paper and try it out, dump every thought. And I don't mean just, you know, make a to-do list. Dump every thought, because you need to operate with a certain amount of space in your brain. And I'll go into the science behind the brain dump in the next slide. But it could be what you need to make for dinner, when you need to pick up the kids from school. It could be something that you're thinking about, a family vacation this year. It could be what you need to do for your business today, or respond to an email, or call somebody. The power of the brain dump itself on a daily basis clears the clutter from the previous slide. You can see those thoughts are so cluttered and messed up, and they don't have any priority or level of importance. They're all important to the brain. So here you get an opportunity just to dump everything. And when you do the brain dump, what it does, it disengages the emotions like stress and fear from your basal ganglia, which is the back of the brain where your emotions are stored. It opens up your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part of the brain, and allows you to look at this brain dump, or the end result of your brain dump, in a more logical manner versus an emotional way that decreases your level of stress, your fear, your anxiety. So it has a massive impact on not only how productive you are on your day, but your level of mental health as well. So what is a brain dump, and why does it provide better mental focus? So like I said, a brain dump is a way to eliminate the clutter and never-ending cycling of thoughts in your mind by quickly writing down every thought that comes to mind. So in the first 5 minutes, put a 5-minute timer on your phone, and it doesn't matter whatever thought pops into your head in that 5 minutes, put it down on paper in no particular order whatsoever, every thought. Remember, this is not a logical, itemized list. We'll get to that. It's a dump. It's an absolute purge of clutter onto a piece of paper. So it's a simple process, shouldn't take up to more than 5 minutes. In fact, putting that timer on allows you to be focused on dumping in that 5-minute time period. So you don't get lost in your thoughts, you don't get squirreled away. You know you only have a 5-minute time period to dump every thought. So the science behind the process, the working memory within our brain is responsible for all core executive functioning processes. That means how we think. It's functioning in compared to what we do in our behaviors, our reasoning, and our decision making. So when this area becomes bogged down by too much information, and that's that hamster on the wheel, you know, repeating the thoughts, because if you don't dump it, that thought will repeat up to 15 times in a day to remind yourself. So it's that thought on repeat that is clogging up your brain space. You know, if I have a dress to take to the dry cleaners, I can think 7, 8, 9 times a day, oh, I've got to get the dress to the dry cleaners. I've got to get the dress to the dry cleaners. Have you ever had that thought where you just constantly remind yourself every day, you know, throughout the day of something that you need to do? So when that area becomes bogged down with too much information, it impacts your focus. You know, it's easy to get squirreled away by different thoughts when you're supposed to be focused on building your business, for example. It impacts your time management and your behavior. And that means you get stressed and you get overwhelmed. And when you're in that type of state, productivity is the last thing you get to accomplish. So the reality is that this brain dumping, that first 5 minutes of this 15-minute tool or combination of tools, the reality is that the mental lists in your head distract you from more other productive uses of your brain, like solving problems, dealing with employees. Mental lists are more difficult to manage than actual physical lists. So when you're looking at your brain dump, and I can show you mine for today, this is how I started my morning. You know, it doesn't have to be pretty. You know, it's a matter of how do you dump the clutter that is taking up too much of your functional brain space in your head to address it in a more logical, less stressful way, because those thoughts, as they circle through your head, often feel more larger because emotions get attached to it. Each time it cycles through your brain, you become more stressed just thinking about it. An emotion attaches to the thought and cycles through, and it's almost a snowball effect, where something that isn't really a big priority, by the end of the day, you've thought it so many times, it's a snowball, and it's really bogging you down with stress and anxiety. So again, those thoughts often feel larger and are more overwhelming than they actually are. And that gives you, this brain dump exercise gives you an opportunity to reduce those emotions, especially if it's done first thing in the day. Then you know you're going to set yourself up not to be stressed, not to have anxiety, and move forward in a productive manner. When you have thoughts in your head rotating, it's nearly impossible to prioritize and estimate the proper amount of time it takes to actually be productive and get things done. So the brain dump, that first 5 minutes, set your timer and dump every thought onto whether it be a brain dump journal or a napkin or a piece of paper. If you're finding yourself getting stressed, even throughout the day, grab a piece of paper and dump every thought. And it really does decrease your level of stress, your level of anxiety, because you're able to move from an emotional state into a more logical state from a brain science perspective. So the second 5 minutes of this 15-minute opportunity, and you can see on your screen, you've got a brain dump here that is highlighted. In this particular example, you have the brain dump, and then it moves into a prioritized task list. I love the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize what I need to do in a day. So out of that brain dump, identifying what is urgent and important that needs to be done right away. And I normally color code that in a blue. I like to color code things. I like my pens and my highlighters, so I color code that in blue. And most of the time you'll spend, when you do this on a daily basis, in the important but not urgent sector of the Eisenhower matrix, which was developed by President Eisenhower of the United States, by the way, long ago. So this is not a new tool. You may have seen it before, but it is a tool that really works. So for the most part, you'll be in that planning to get that item that you've brain dumped done. And you do that with time blocking, which I'll talk about later on in this webinar. The not important but urgent, that is something that if it's not important enough to be at your pay scale level, and remember, as an entrepreneur or a business leader, you want to be focused on those $100 an hour jobs, not the $12 an hour jobs. So in that opportunity to delegate what might be urgent, but it's not important. And when I go into that sector in more depth, we talk about emails, social media messages, because sometimes when the phone dings, we think it's urgent and important. So it might be urgent, as in you need to deal with it today, but it's not important, so you can time block it or delegate somebody else to deal with it. And last but not least, my brown is eliminate. Something that's not important and something that's not urgent can be eliminated off your list for the day. It might jump on your list tomorrow or the next day, but we take this one day at a time and make sure that something as simple as, maybe if it's not urgent and it's not important, like watching the latest episode of Survivor, for example, or spending an hour just scrolling through your Facebook page, maybe it's time to eliminate that in order to enhance your time management. Because we all know we only have 1,440 minutes in a day, and you can't create more time. So it is all about how you prioritize your time, how you focus on the things that need to be focused on, and move into action. So the first quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix is the things that need to be done first. They are, and remember, not everything is urgent and important. In fact, if you have more than 5 things on your brain dump that is urgent and important, you might be thinking a little bit too emotionally, because no more than 5 things in your day should be urgent and important. So these are the do first tasks because they are critical for your life and your career or your business, and in some way need to be finished right away. So they are what I call your needle movers. These should actually be done in the first portion of your day. Within the first 2 hours of your day, after fully waking up, having your cup of coffee, getting moving, the first 2 hours of your day, from a neuroplasticity or a brain science perspective, studies out of Duke University is showing that the first 2 hours of your day, no matter whether you're a morning person or a night owl, are actually the most productive in cognitive brain activity. So getting the urgent and the important done in this first quadrant in the first couple of hours of your day will set you up for success. So you can be productive, and productivity equals success. Busyness equals stress. So you want to get these tasks done, again, in the first 2 hours every day as soon as possible. And these are tasks that need to be done in order to avoid negative consequences. So it could be an important sales call that if you don't make this call today, you'll lose a big sale for your business. So it is urgent and important. Or it's an employee that you need to talk to that may be damaging your brand. So that needs to be dealt with right away. And these are an example of, the quadrant one. It could be a time-sensitive email that you've been putting off doing, but now it's time to rip off the Band-Aid and respond appropriately. So the second quadrant, deciding when. And this is where, when you use this tool on a regular basis, you spend a lot more time in the second quadrant of the not urgent, but it's important. So the second quadrant tasks are in line with your long-term goals. So examples of those is exercising, for example. It's important that you exercise, but you can plan to do it. You can put it in your calendar. You can time block it because your health is important. It's important to spend time with family. So you can certainly time block that time and plan for it. And to align all the things that are important to you from a business, a career, a family, a life perspective, that you are planning for these things. And I'll show you one of my best planning tools as we move through this presentation. So these are things that are important, but they don't have to be done immediately. And when they are planned for and they pop up on your calendar, that's when they move to the important and urgent column. So you can see that things that are planned can become must-dos for tomorrow and the day after. They don't have to be what I call must-dos for today. So the third one, delegate. If you think you are the only one that can do everything, if you are what I call COE of your business, chief of everything, versus the CEO, then you're going to burn out very, very quickly, because no one can do everything, and not everybody's area of genius follows into every facet of business. So do you ever feel that you put too much importance on a task and then in hindsight it wasn't very important? For example, an email. You put a lot of time into making sure that you respond very, very quickly to your emails. And what you could do is time block it or delegate it, your email, some of your generic email responses, to a virtual assistant, for example. So for quadrant 3 tasks, it's important to remember how to delegate certain things. A really good example for women in business is house cleaning. House cleaning, if someone's coming over, it's pretty urgent, but you could delegate that to either someone who cleans for a living, or if you get your kids involved, to make it easier for you. What things on your brain dump can you delegate? That maybe it's not something that you do, maybe it's something that your business partner does, or your husband does, or your children helps you. I know when I am putting together promotional materials to put in envelopes, quite often I delegate, friends, family, children to help me do that. Because remember, it could be urgent, it could be time sensitive, but it's not one of those $100 jobs that you do as the CEO of your business. It's a $12 job. And sometimes you might say, well, you know what, I need to do the $12 jobs because I can't afford to hire somebody at $15 an hour. If you are focused on your income producing activities, in an hour, you make $100. That allows you time to hire somebody for $15. So if you're looking at hiring for summer students as well, don't forget the STEP program that I posted on my Facebook page today. So when you think something isn't urgent, but it's not, it is usually a really good source of distraction in your day, as it squirrels around your head and on that hamster wheel. So this may include constantly checking your email or your phone, or responding to people as soon as they contact you. You may think it's urgent in the moment, but when you stop what you're doing to attend the moment, in reality, it probably could have waited. So it's a matter of time blocking. For example, emails, if you're sitting at your desk all day, or you have your notifications turned on your phone all day, and you answer to every ping right away, then what happens is you get distracted and you lose focus. And studies are now saying that once you get distracted and lose focus from the task that you are supposed to be doing, your must do, your important and urgent, it takes between 15 and 20 minutes for the brain to actually come back, readjust, and refocus with the same amount of focus that you had before you were distracted. So sometimes it's a matter of planning and time blocking when you'll return your emails, when you will return phone calls, and making sure that, say, for example, between 4 and 4:30, that's my half an hour to return the phone calls that I've gotten throughout the day. Remember, unless you're a brain surgeon, not answering your phone doesn't mean something critical is going to happen. The last quadrant is the delete it, get rid of it. There are some things on your brain dump that will come out that honestly are not of any value to you whatsoever. So you can avoid these tasks altogether. These tasks are simply a waste of your time and should be eliminated. So if you're able to identify and eliminate all of your quadrant 4 tasks, you'll free up some much needed time to invest in your quadrant 2 tasks that you've already planned to do for the day. So examples of things that you can eliminate are playing video games, watching television shows that you've already seen, or mindless web browsing. You know, who hasn't decided, okay, I'll just cruise through Facebook for a little while, and all of a sudden 2 hours pass and you don't know what happened. So, and we could all talk about how binge watching Netflix affects our brain as well. So that doesn't mean that quadrant 4 shouldn't be a part of your life, but there should be a balance between professional and personal life that is important, making sure that you do have some scheduled downtime. So if you're using television for downtime, I know that's something that I do. At the end of the evening, I'll watch an hour or between 9 and 10 to allow my brain to quieten down. That allows me to sleep, because I know if I'm doing some reading, I'm normally reading a business book or a personal development book, and that just gets my brain jacked up again and I don't sleep. So for my personal wind down time, I normally watch a travel show or HGTV or home improvement or something that requires no thought process, but I know that I'm doing it on purpose just to wind my brain down. So here's the challenge. When you do your brain dump, your 5-minute brain dump, the next 5 minutes is to grab your highlighters, grab your pens, grab your asterisks or circles or underline, and take those next 5 minutes of this 15-minute tool to identify what goes into quadrant number 1 that has to be done today. And remember, it should be no more than 5 in order to avoid overwhelm. And then what is important but not urgent and can be planned for tomorrow or the next day or next week that can go on your to-do list for next week. Remember, the brain dump is not a to-do list. It's a place to create a to-do list from. What is urgent but not important? So you need to delegate that. So what can be delegated and who can it be delegated to? If you're saying, it's urgent to me that my dishes are put into the dishwasher every day because I don't like dishes in the sink. Okay, who can I delegate that to? Because that's not a $100 an hour CEO job. So I can delegate that. And what really needs to be eliminated? Become very self-aware about the amount of time you are spending on tasks that are not productive, like the web browsing, like the watching TV shows, like the playing video games, like spending too much time just browsing through social media. If you monitor how much time you spend on those channels, you'd actually be very surprised. On average, here's a bit of a shocker for you. On average, the average person who uses social media recreationally, not just professionally for work, spends 116 minutes per day just cruising social media. That's almost 2 hours. So if you eliminate that, you've got 2 more hours to be super productive and work on things that are important and urgent for your day. So the last 15 minutes of this 15-minute routines is what I call time blocking. Sometimes people do this on an online calendar. Sometimes people do this on their phone. Some people do this on paper calendars. But the reason why time blocking works to increase your productivity is a simple fact that now, in this day and age, we have become absolute slaves to our calendars. Who here says on a regular basis, if it's not on the calendar, it's just not getting done? And we are absolute slaves to time blocking. So make the time blocking tool work for you. So what you do is, the first step is to brain dump. The second step is to prioritize. Now let's put that must-dos into the calendar from the first quadrant for today, and then plan out the rest from quadrant 2 into your time blocking. So you don't have that thought of, oh, I'm going to write this strategy session, or I'm going to, build a website, or I'm going to go to a networking event, and that squirrels around in your head all day, and all day the next day. But if you actually put it on your calendar, it quiets down that thought. If that thought pops up again, you can say, oh yes, I've scheduled to do that on Saturday. Okay, no stress involved. So you can see you can time block from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. With some flexibility, don't forget to add some 15-minute breaks. And remember too, your time blocking is not written in stone. It's written on paper at the very least, or it's written on an online calendar that you can have some flexibility and play with it. But time block your family time. Time block your self-care time. Time block, I even time block lunch on my calendar to make sure I take it and not work all the way through. Time block your workouts, time block your downtime, time block your meetings and your daily tasks. So if you really truly are a slave to your calendar, make your calendar work for you rather than against you. So why time blocking works? Again, most people let their calendar completely dictate their time. If it's on the calendar, it's going to happen. So by blocking off your most important work time on your calendar, then what happens is when the other distractions and requests come in, you can look at your calendar, which is an acceptable social practice, and say, I can actually fit you in tomorrow or Wednesday, but I've time blocked my day for today. So you're working on things that are a priority to you, rather than, like my second point, it's a socially acceptable way to say no to what I call time vampires. I'm booked solid until Friday. Can we chat for 5 minutes now or do it over email? It's a much more tactful way to get out of a useless, agendaless meeting. I'm trying to take fewer meetings right now. How important is this? You could even put your calendar onto private. So what I call the vampires who just need 5 minutes of your time, and then all of a sudden it's a 2-hour conversation. Know that you are booked and see that you're busy if you're sharing your calendar in a workplace example. So it also balances the urgent and the important. Remember those quadrants. There are non-human time vampires too. So urgent but unimportant tasks also have the ability to fill a day and ruin your productivity. And that means that constantly being refocused if an email comes in or your phone pings or a text message. If you respond to every distraction, you will never get what needs to be done. So learning to turn your phone off, put it on airplane mode for a couple of hours to focus, and then turn it back on to address whatever emails or whatever phone conversations you need to respond to come in is super productive, especially from a brain cognition perspective, where you're not asking your brain to play a virtual tennis match all day and multitask your thought processes and never get anything done. So it forces you to prove your priorities with action. So you really want to write the article that you say you want to put on a blog for a new blog post to attract more tourists to your business, for example, or, produce a new project. It actually forces you, when you're time blocking, to put action into your productivity for your day and propel into it. So if it's on your calendar and it pops up, rather, you can just rip off the Band-Aid and get it done with what I call laser focus versus multitasking and responding to every distraction that comes along. Again, this process also prevents procrastination. So again, to extend the above idea, scheduling time to work on things forces you to create space to do them. If you're rigorously time blocking on a daily basis, and something isn't making it into your schedule, it's probably not something you either need to be doing, so you need to delegate it, or it's something that isn't really as much of a priority as you said you are. Or it could be something that you need to look and say, okay, what is causing me stress that I am procrastinating on actually getting this particular job done? Time blocking also promotes deep work. So solving problems takes a lot of time and attention. Getting that project done is, something that needs to be laser focused on. So rather than doing something in little drips, and little drips in between the different distractions that you're dealing with every day. That deep work, if you have time blocked it for 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and I would suggest that when you're time blocking, you don't time block any more when you're working on a project than 90 minutes without also time blocking a break. Because after 90 minutes, your brain simply just gets tired. And sitting for too long, you know, is not good for our health. So putting in a 90-minute time block and then a 15-minute break is always the best way to go. This time blocking system also encourages batching. So you shouldn't schedule blocks smaller than 15 minutes on most calendars, which means that there's no room for flexibility in there. Don't do things back to back in your calendar. Make sure you have a little wiggle room, 15, 30 minutes in between different appointments to deal with whatever I call the time vampires or mosquitoes that fly into your day. So making sure that even if your calendar isn't 100% full, making sure that if you are going to deal with somebody walking into your office, then you have to make sure to tell them that I have 15 minutes until I get into my next time block. So protecting your time is just as important as protecting your money, because time is a commodity. We can't create it. We cannot have more than 1,440 minutes in a day, as I said. So making sure you protect your time, that you don't get those vampires sucking basically the life out of you, because time is life. And making sure that you are really focused on what needs to be done in order to be productive. Time blocking also forces you to be realistic with your time. You know, if you put, oh, I can just do a whole project in half an hour, how realistic is that? So it's easy to put 10 things on your to-do list in the morning because you want to get those 10 things done. But again, that Eisenhower matrix with your brain dump identifies what needs to be done first, and then you can allocate how long is it going to realistically take me to get this project done. So if you just are working off a to-do list, all of a sudden looking at that to-do list becomes overwhelming, because you look at it and go, how am I ever going to find the time to get this done? So by forcing you to at least guess how long each one of your must-dos is going to take, then you can time block that accordingly and protect yourself from distractions within that time frame. It also trains you to be better at estimating about how long things take. It's about, you know, the same kind of goes hand in hand with being realistic with your time. You know, if you're writing a proposal for a new client, or you are looking at scheduling your social media posts for an entire week, you get really good at understanding how long this takes by time blocking. So as we launch into our Q&A session, making sure that you're using this 15-minute easy to use tool. Like I said, it is first 5 minutes is your brain dump. The second 5 minutes is using the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize what is really important that needs to be done today, what can be planned for tomorrow or the next day or even next week, what can be delegated so somebody else can do it for you, and what can be eliminated. Really super important. So then you put that planning into your calendar in the next 5 minutes and time block when things are going to get done. And if you use those 3 tools together, the brain dump, the prioritization using the Eisenhower matrix, and time blocking, whether it be in your calendar, whether it be online, whether it be in paper, whether it be on your phone. I know that the clients I have used this tool with and measured how they do in their productivity and time management do say they have seen an increase in their clarity of their day, their stress has decreased, and their productivity has increased by 40 to 60%. So most of all, if you use this tool on a consistent basis, get up, have your morning tea or coffee, and bring out your brain dump journal and just start doing it, then guaranteed you'll see an increase in your productivity, boosting your focus. And what happens when you're more productive in your business and you are focusing on your income producing activities, or what I call your needle movers or IPAs, you get more money in your pocket at the end. So if I said that for this 15-minute routine, you would get 40 to 60% more time in your day. Who doesn't want that? So with that said, that concludes my presentation.